Hello everyone, Mike Silverman from the Snowden YouTube channel here with a Final Fantasy IX mystery. A few months ago, my brother showed me these CDs that he'd purchased on eBay. He thought that it would be cool to try to figure out what they were. We saw they were labeled Final Fantasy IX, but they had a different image than the normal Final Fantasy IX CDs. Upon examining the undersides of the CDs, we noticed that they were not black, which a PlayStation 1 game normally would be. Looking underneath the CD, we noticed a label that showed that it was sold in around 2003 for about $7. Looking at the front of the CD case, there was more art that looked like fan art, and it was only printed on one side. And looking at the side of the CD case, we saw that Final Fantasy IX was written on in what looked to be Sharpie marker. We decided to try to put the CDs into our PlayStation 2, see if something would come up. Unfortunately, the PlayStation 2 gave a disk read error, saying there was no data on the CDs. We tried the second CD in the case just to make sure. It had the same result. Our next idea was to put the CDs in a computer. After all, they looked like normal CDs, maybe a computer would be able to read them. The computer was able to read the files on the CD, which included some folders of files with unrecognized extensions. There was one file with an extension I did recognize, the image file, which was a disk image. We tried to mount that to a virtual CD drive, but we got the error that it was an unsupported file type. It was about that time that Ben noticed something about the files. Their creation date was all in the year 2000. We thought that might be important later, so we made a note. We decided to Google the text that was on the CDs, commemorating the PlayStation chapter of the Final Fantasy saga. Only one result was found on Google, an old Reddit thread where someone was showing off their custom PlayStation 1. On the top of their PlayStation 1 was the same image that was on the CDs, except one thing was different. It said PSM at the top. Looking through the comments, we were able to learn that these were stickers from an old magazine, PSM, PlayStation magazine. We searched through the dusty archives for old PlayStation magazines, looking for ones that were found around the same date of the files that were created on the CD. Eventually we found one with Final Fantasy art on the cover. It looked of a similar style, so we investigated it by downloading the PDF. We searched over this old PlayStation magazine issue page by page, looking for the same picture that was on the CDs, or any mention of a demo disc or a Final Fantasy IX CD. But we found nothing. And after searching a few more PlayStation magazines from the same year, we came up with no more clues than what we had started with. With the PlayStation magazine clue being a dead end, we decided to try to run the CDs a different way. This time we used the EPSXE emulator for the computer, and we tried to mount the disk image file that was found on one of the CDs. Unfortunately, this did nothing. The EPSXE emulator has another option for running CDs, running the CD-ROM straight from your CD drive. We tried that, and this was the result. After watching this screen for a while and reading all of the text, listening to the music, we decided to try to press a button, and we got this screen. So it turns out that these are actually Final Fantasy IX CDs. And looking at the labels of C and D printed on each of the CDs, we figured that these were probably supposed to be Disc 3 and Disc 4 of Final Fantasy IX. But where did they come from? Why was the art different? And what was Kalisto? We went back to Google for answers. Googling Team Kalisto, the name that was shown on the intro screen of the CDs didn't seem to give any information that related to Final Fantasy IX at all. Making our search query more specific, we found this YouTube video, which showed a similar screen. Looking further, we found an old GameFAQs forum where somebody thought that their copy of Final Fantasy IX might have been fake. Someone replied, "It sounds like one of those early rips from the people who jacked the source code. Forgot what their name is, but if you press a combination of buttons at the start screen, their name will pop up." Anatomos199 mentioned Kalisto? It seemed that Kalisto must have been some sort of distribution group of illegally copied PlayStation games. Googling with that information revealed that Team Kalisto was a wares group that was active in the late 90s and early 2000s, creating and distributing not only PlayStation games but Dreamcast games as well. They were taken out in 2004 when they were targeted as part of Operation Fastlink by the United States Department of Justice. Their supplier, the Basilisk, was arrested in the process. Now we knew that we were in possession of cracked Final Fantasy IX CDs, parts C and D. But without parts A and B, our set was incomplete. I went on eBay and messaged the original seller and told them all about our research. So it turns out this item is actually a cracked version of Final Fantasy IX, Discs 3 and 4. I'm considering making a YouTube video on this topic as it was so mysterious. There's not much information on this already, and I think it was an interesting series of steps to solve what the item actually was. I think other fans of Final Fantasy IX and old technology would enjoy hearing about it. I was hoping you could provide me with any more information about these discs, like where you found them, and is there any chance of finding discs 1 and 2? Zebra Muscle told me that he got this at an LNG estate auction, where he purchased a large lot of video games and other media around 1 year ago in Oklahoma City, with discs A and B presumably lost in Oklahoma City, or who knows where. There was no telling if we would ever be able to complete our set. For now, it would have to be enough that we solve the mystery of what these discs even were in the first place. And that's the end of this Final Fantasy IX mystery. If you have a Final Fantasy IX mystery to share, please do so in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Mike Silverman from the Snowden YouTube channel. Goodbye.